here with the one and only Damien Chazelle, who's the director and writer of La La Land. I just saw this earlier. I guess it was earlier this week. Completely knocked me out, man.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's just charming and everything in the beginning, but then by the end you're ripping my heart out. Why do you have to do that? And when we're going down to Seb's again, turning off the highway, man, I'm crying in my seat. But let's start. When you're watching this, obviously we all love Whiplash, but when we're watching this, you can sort of tell this is your two passions, right? It's jazz and old movies, man. What is that sort of, the two characters are teaching each other, Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, to love each of them. But for you as a director and a writer, are you sort of like, I want to teach the audience, this new generation of young kids coming up, to love jazz and old movies?
Yeah, a little bit. It's I wouldn't. It's not like I would want to call myself a wannabe teacher or something like nothing as presumptuous as that. It's just that. I guess it's just that idea of like you're passionate about something, the way the characters are, and so you want to share that passion. And so certainly, these were passions I wanted to share, but I also just want to make a case for these forms still being relevant. Yeah. I think especially with musicals, there's like this perception of musicals as just fake and having nothing to do with reality and just kind of maybe outdated, and I wanted to make a case for the genre as something that could still be modern and alive and still say something about what it means to be young and chasing your dreams today.
Well, you brought it back. I'm telling you, man.
Thanks. Thank you.
You're going to shoot through that Best Musical Golden Globe gate at the Oscars, man. Let's take back to the beginning of the movie. On the highway, the great, awesome, it's a single take shot on the highway. Is that sort of are you sitting in traffic one day and you're it's like, imagine if these people got out and did this,
pretty much.
or is it like a little bit of like Fellini 8.5 there, when he floats out of the car and
It's it's funny. So obviously the Fellini scene in 8.5 is incredible. But I also remember. So I live in LA now, but I grew up on the East Coast, and I had this perception in my mind of LA as this kind of horrible, unlivable place, and a lot of that was informed by movies that I was like growing up watching. One of which was the Michael Douglas movie Falling Down, which begins with a kind of 8.5 style traffic jam that he finally walks out of, and man, like that was LA to me. It was just like it looked kind of hellish, and then so I moved to LA, not even really thinking that I was going to stay very long. It's just because I wanted to make movies, and okay, so you try LA, and I fell in love with it, and realized there was this whole other magical kind of romantic side to the city, but there still is a lot of traffic. So I wanted to try to kind of start the movie with stuff that we associate with LA at its worst, and try to build from that to more a love letter to the city.
Is that actually a single take, or are there little illusion masks?
There's two illusion masks that I have to fess up to.
We won't ask where they are.
But thank you. It's very nice of you.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it was like one of those things where we had 2 days to shoot it, and so we had to kind of like just basically bane through this number on the freeway, and it was an actual freeway overpass, and but it was the whole time it was kind of like shooting it and being stressed out that we weren't going to be able to get it, but being also exhilarated and wondering why can't more traffic jams be like this?
Hey,
why not?
People at WTOP will agree in DC, right? Right, everybody here? Awesome. The fight scene where that builds them sitting in the green light. Vertigo?
It's funny, yeah. I mean, so that was like, I remember we were into shooting. We'd already kind of had it's Ryan Gosling's character's apartment. And we'd picked the apartment, and and we were getting close to shooting it, and it had these kind of window drapes, and it just kind of occurred to me like literally a few days before shooting, and I talked to my DP Lena Sandgren about what this sort of green light kind of coming through would be, and yeah, it was like the certainly the light in Vertigo, and also felt a little Wizard of Oz to me, and even Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula has this incredible green mist, and that kind of green is a color that you saw a lot in old Technicolor movies and you don't really see anymore. So I thought it might be, I don't know, I just kind of loved it. So I think everyone kind of looked at me like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, are we doing the Matrix or something? But I just kind of
tell them to go
went
watch
through
more old movies.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, also the scene like at the end, I think like when you go into some of the musical numbers, you do like a lot of like of those Gene Kelly musicals and Minnelli and Stanley Donen with like the little logos appearing of
Yeah.
you know the different marquees and things.
Yeah.
I love that superimposed stuff.
Oh, thanks.
But then towards the end, you know, like a lot of those movies like Singing in the Rain or American in Paris, they would have like those big, almost like a surreal, artful, big number before the end.
Yeah, yeah.
So did you consciously say, I want to do that? But you know, but also do it where you know it's seeing what their relationship would have been, you know, because you see that flash of what could have been, and then they turn back off the highway. Do you remember where you were when you came up with that? Because it's
not.
brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
were you going for?
I don't entirely remember because I'm not sure what came first. Whether it was just this idea of the emotion I wanted at the end of the movie, or this idea of doing a big, like those like dream ballets from those old movies that. Certainly on that level, I was like, why don't we do that anymore? Like movies that were kind of Hollywood studio mainstream movies for a broad public in like the 50s and 60s used to sometimes every once in a while just kind of stop the main story and like go into just pure music really. And there was something so bracing and just kind of audacious about that idea. So anyway, I'm not sure exactly, how it first formulated in my mind, but it was very early on. Like the earliest drafts of the script ended exactly that way. And yeah, it was an attempt to sort of do a version of that, but about this very specific emotion that we were trying to achieve at the end of the movie.
Ryan and Emma, casting them, what was that process like? Were they in your mind when you were writing it the whole time?
It was, so when I was, basically the process was like I just got insanely lucky. It was like, it was just, those things just
So did
aligning. Well, it's nice of you to say. Because I first started writing this in like 2010 into 2011. And yeah, they were floating in my head when I was first writing. But it was that kind of thing where.
Floating in the stars, floating in your head?
Yeah, thank you. but it was the kind of thing where I was like, that's probably never going to happen, forget it, And then it took like 5-6 years to get the movie made, and during that process, I made Whiplash, and towards the end of that process, the script wound up on their laps, and independently, and even at slightly different junctures, and so it just lined up, kind of, in a very sort of circuitous way that they were able to do it, wanted to do it together, but that was just kind of an amazing thing for me because I mean, obviously, I loved that they had this built-in chemistry, but just individually as well. I just think they're two of the greatest actors around right now.
Totally. You mentioned Whiplash. Watching Whiplash, I remember there was a lot of those sort of almost like staccato images, like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
of like a cymbal or a drumstick. And I noticed that some in this too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it maybe he puts like a record player down or
Yeah.
something. You have some of those like 3-beat salvo kind of a things. Is that why do you like that? I mean, you're building your little auteur legacy here, early stages of it. But why is that like powerful for you?
It's hard to say. I just like the feeling of it. I mean, I have working with the same editor, Tom Cross, who cut Whiplash, and he and I just have a shorthand, and we also have a shared love for just a lot of the same movies and a lot of the same moments in movies, and
Probably a jazz thing too,
and yeah, I think so. I think it certainly started in Whiplash, and it was that idea of like, how does the world feel like to a jazz musician, and I was a jazz drummer myself, and so there was something about that kind of. Where it's all about rhythm,
Right. Were you rushing or
and trying to lock right into the tempo,
Yeah.
and but it's like, but that it was all about like the timing and the just the sort of kineticism of that. I love that you can literally create a sense of music just through editing, even if there's no music on screen.
Yeah.
That was an idea I love, and it was an idea that was really important in this movie, that even when there was no music on screen, it needed to still feel musical at every moment.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of Whiplash, I know we get some nice little callbacks with J.K. Simmons there. I thought he was going to do the rushing or dragging to Ryan Gosling a couple times when he's firing him, but why was it important to get him in there? Because I know he's meant a lot to your career.
Yeah, I mean, on a personal level, I just love the guy. So I would kill to work with him at any moment. But he was he was like kind enough to. I didn't even really think necessarily that he'd be interested because it's a relatively small role. But I just called him up and asked him, hey, is this something at all you would want to kind of come down for a couple days and do? And he just jumped at the idea, and it was just. But it was kind of fun. Ryan joked to me that it was Ryan's first day on set was the scene where he plays piano and then gets fired by J.K. And so he joked like, "Oh, I see what you're up to. You know, you bring your actor from Whiplash and you have him fire me on day one. I get it. Show who's boss."
Yeah.
So.
I've seen how this movie goes.
Right.
Well, I know we're nearing the end, but one of my favorite gags throughout the whole thing, it's something really small, and I want to know if it was in the script or if you came up with Ryan. The car horn. How he blares it when he rolls up outside her and she knows that it's him. Was that in the script? Or was that like an actor?
There was no, that was in the script. It was slightly different in the script. It was trying to figure out just kind of what the it was always a car horn. It was what exactly he did with the car horn, whether he did a sort of pattern with it and so I think it became just this sort of like grating, sort of a very stubborn as the character is, sound through me and Ryan talking and. But to me, it was also kind of a funny, like musical device in its own way. Like I like that idea of that the movie needed to be pregnant with music at every moment, and so even city sounds that would normally be annoying almost serve as little bits of music or melody in the movie. So that was kind of that, and just the fact that I find it kind of hilarious that this guy is so.
Honestly, what I love about it, and I know you're like a big old movie guy, so stop me if I'm reading too deep, but I think you've taken new ownership of the car horn for LA. For a while, it was Faye Dunaway, Chinatown, the head on the wheel, at the end.
Yes,
it's tragedy, right?
The
Chinatown,
never-ending car
LA
horn.
is a dirty, corrupt place. Now with your car horn, LA is a bright, vibrant place. Old movies are back again. It's a place to be celebrated. So yeah, take that one with you. That's what I thought.
I'm gonna take full credit for that idea too.
Did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anyway, but that's the emotion that we get out of watching your movie. You've taken new ownership of LA again and made it a magical place. So thank you, sir.
Thanks. That was the hope. So thank you. I'm thrilled.